Everyone. Today we are going to be starting on chapter 1 in your red book, History and Career Opportunities. Your motivation, as you will see that since you've been in the classroom, is I never dreamed about success, I worked for it. And this was by Estee Lauder, who was a pioneer business person in cosmetics and a philanthropist. It will hang up in our room over our calendar by my office all semester. I love doing inspirational things, but as you see in cosmetology and hair, if you will get your uncles, moms, dads yearbook, you will see that some of the old hairstyles kind of look similar to what we're doing today, but just in a different way. But it's all been taken from history. Okay? So, who loved history when you were in high school? Why did you love it? Why did you hate it? The truth is that some people are intrigued about the past and others see little value in learning about it. And especially in the world of cosmetology, what value could there possibly be in learning about history? I mean, did you ever think I'm going to learn about history when I go to cosmetology? Well, when you study the history of anything, you gain understanding of our world today. Do you ever think of where things started from? How did lipstick come about? How did eyeshadow? How did people do that in the Victorian ages, in the Renaissance, and all them ages? Well, you will discover how many of those products, techniques are still in the world today. They have simply evolved and techniques were created. You learn why some of those faded out over time, and you will discover how many of those products and techniques are still in the world today. They simply have evolved. Learning about history will give you insight on how profession continually changes and develops. There's a phrase that everything old is new again. And I have seen it so much. I graduated in 97, like I've told y'all before. I have seen so many things come and go even as a child growing up where there was bell bottoms, they come back. They didn't call them bell bottoms at one time. They called them flared legs. Same thing goes in cosmetology. All right. And quite often they are trends that once existed, but someone has tweaked them and now they're new and they may say they're theirs. But if you look back in history, it's been there. Okay. Let's start with the Africans. Braiding. It's a great thing these days. A lot of people are into braiding, extensions, and stuff like that. Braiding began in Africa with the Himba people of Namibia in 3500 BCE, and they created cornrow braids. Zulu tribes in South Africa first wore Zulu knots, also called Bantu knots, which you'll learn later on in the summer semester. Braid patterns and hairstyles indicated a person's tribe, marital status, wealth, and power and religion. Because of how long it takes, people throughout history have used this time to socialize. Hair has a reflection of well-being and existence in the world. Then we have the Egyptians. In North Africa, ancient Egyptian wall murals in 3100 BCE depict figures wearing dreadlocks, box braids, and wigs. Now, you've seen people these days that not necessarily exactly like that, but you've seen people with braids and they have the adornments in their hair like this. First to cultivate beauty in an extravagant fashion was the Egyptians as early as 2630 BCE. They used minerals, insects, and berries to create lip and skin makeup. I mean, can you just imagine this woman's walking around and she's like, well, I'm bored today, so I'm going to do something to my eyes and I'm going to use this insect right here to make this color. Okay? I mean, I don't know about you, but I kind of wonder what made them think of this. Cosmetics use became part of their personal beautification habits, religious ceremonies, and burial preparation. Credited with creating coal makeup, originally made from a mixture of ground galena, a black mineral, sulfur, and animal fat, to heavily line the eyes, alleviate eye inflammation, and protect the eyes from the sun's glare. First civilization to use essential oils from plant leaves, bark, and blossom as perfumes and purification purposes. Ruins discovered near the Dead Sea suggest that Queen Cleopatra owned a perfume factory offering massages, essential oils, and other beauty treatments. And I really hope you're following along in your book as we go through this and you really read this book, because all of these are questions that will be asked of you on your test and later on in your exams, and it's very knowledgeable. Okay, we have the Chinese and the Romans. During the Shang Dynasty in 1600 BCE, Chinese aristocrats rubbed a tinted mixture of gum arabica, gelatin, beeswax, and egg whites on their nails to color them crimson or ebony. Later, throughout the Zhou Dynasty, also known as Chou Dynasty, gold and silver were the royal nail colors. Get that in your head. Gold and silver were the royal nail colors. Nail tinting was so closely tied to social status that a commoner caught wearing a royal nail color faced a punishment of death. Women lavishly used fragrance and cosmetics. Facials made of milk and bread or fine wine were popular. And now, if you'll look into some of the ingredients in your facials and stuff, you'll see milk as a lot of it in there. They used a mixture of chalk and white lead as facial cosmetics. Women used hair color to indicate class. Noblemen tinted their hair red. Middle class women colored their hair blonde, and poor women dyed their hair black. One of the most famous Roman hairstyles for men was after its creator, Julius Caesar. Caesar hid his thinning hair by combing his sparse strands forward over the crown of his head to just below the hairline. During the golden age of Greece, 500 BCE, hairstyling became a highly developed art. Early Greek sculptures show subjects wearing crown braids and chignons, two styles that will remain popular for more than a millennium. We're still doing this these days. We're doing the chignons, which is a bun. You will learn that later on in class. Learning how to do the braids and making updo styles with them. The Middle Ages, also called medieval times, women of means wore splendid hair wear and a variety of hairstyles, including braids, buns, and intricate headpieces. Medieval men wore short hair combed forward. As the Middle Ages progressed, male nobility would often wear long hair with a middle part. And you know that has come back. A lot of guys are growing their hair out again. Flaxen hair was desirable because the popular paintings of angels at the time were often depicted as blondes. Women achieved this look by applying a mixture of black sulfur, honey, and alum to their hair, then accelerating the lightening effect by sitting in the sun. Some women desire darker hair, achieved by creating a paste of walnut and chestnut left on the hair for at least 2 days. Now, there's no developer in this, so it was probably a whole lot better for their hair than the things that we do to it now. And innovation in essential oil use in beauty and medicine occurred around 1000 CE when a Persian alchemist named Avicenna refined the steam distillation process, ushering in the modern era of steam distilled essential oils used today. Another very important thing to remember. All right, the Renaissance and Victorian age. I'm getting tongue tied. Developments during this time bridged the gap between the ancient cultures and the beginning of the beauty industry as we know it today. 1450 to 1837 was a pivotal for the Western civilization, marking the transition from medieval to modern. People took great pride in their physical appearance and wore elaborate, elegant clothing. Fragrance and cosmetics were used. During the 1600s, the word hairdresser made its first appearance in Europe, and hairdressing became a recognizable profession. In 1636, Anthony van Dyck painted a portrait of King Charles II of England, Scotland, and Ireland, wearing what is known as the Van Dyck beard. The beard design, which consists of a mustache and a goatee with shaved cheeks, has remained popular for more than 400 years. The Age of Extravagance. In 1755 through 1793, Hallmark was the reign of Queen Marie Antoinette of France. The giant pompadour wigs and face powdering techniques were popular. Women of status bathed in strawberries and milk and used lavish cosmetic preparations such as scented face powder made from pulverized starch. They used crushed geranium petals to color lips and cheeks pink and orange. Small silk patches were often used to decorate the face and conceal blemishes. The Victorian Age, Queen Victoria of England, 1837 to 1901, was known as the Victorian Age. Dress and personal grooming fashions were drastically influenced by the social mores of their austere and restrictive period. To preserve the skin's health and beauty, Victorian women used beauty masks made from honey, eggs, oatmeal, and other natural ingredients. And again, honey and oatmeal, if you'll look at ingredients of facial products, you will see the use of this. And if you wanted to, you could make up your facial health, skin, beauty by using the honey, the eggs, the oatmeal, and another natural ingredient, milk. Okay, make that, put it on your face. See how much better your face does with that than using the expensive products that you go and buy at the store. Rather than use cosmetics, they pinched their cheeks and bit their lips to induce natural color. More notable industry's contribution during this time was the metal hot comb that was invented in France in 1845 to temporarily straighten curly hair. In 1872, Marcel Groteau invented the first curling iron with tongues heated by a gas burner. And you'll hear that name over and over and over because you will have a Marcel curling iron, okay? The first professional beauty magazine, The American Hairdresser, was published in 1877, and Franz Stroher founded a German beauty company in 1880, later called Wella Professionals, the longest lived professional beauty product company still in operation today. And we still have some Wella products in our salon here. Now, I want you to go to page 10 and read the blue box that's called Focus On about the Pioneer Spotlight on Martha Matilda Harper. It is very interesting, and you will hear about Martha again later on, and there will be questions about it. So always go. You can discuss the following with a partner. You don't have to. This is not an assignment you have to turn in, but really read and find out about the history of this, what she did. All right, the early 20th century, it saw greater social acceptance of women's roles outside the home. As women began to frequent department stores and hold jobs, demand for beauty products started to grow. The invention of motion pictures coincided with an abrupt shift of American attitudes. As viewers saw pictures of flawless complexions, beauty hairstyles, and manicured nails, standards of beauty began to change. Beauty applications began to follow trends set in celebrities and society figures. And you probably can't even think about how women were supposed to stay in the house, stay in the kitchen. The man would go out and do everything. But now we see that women are getting more out. A lot of times these days, the women are the main breadwinners in our households. In 1901 to 1910, the turn of the century, Charles Dana Gibson, popular magazine drawings of the Gibson Girls, remember this, featuring women of pompadours and bouffants and impossibly twist tiny waist, set a new standard of feminine beauty. Gibson Girl was arguably the first national beauty standard for American women. Men's fashions included wearing a handlebar or walrus mustache. Men's favorite hair grooming brands including Rollins mascara oil and Brillatine, created by French perfumer Edouard Pinoud. In 1904, Max Factor immigrated from Lodz, Poland, to the United States. By 1908, he had Americanized his name to Max Factor, just spelled a different way, and began making and selling makeup. A few years later, he created a grease paint makeup for motion pictures use that wouldn't cake or crack under the hot studio lights. In 1906, Charles Nelson invented the first perm machine that curled hair by supplying electrical current to metal rods. Now, don't get Charles Nelson mixed up with Marcel Gros-Tout. Marcel Gros-Tout invented the first curling iron. Charles Nelson invented the first perm machine. Hair was wrapped around rods, and the heat and current resulted in the permanent waves. In 1907, French chemist Eugene Schuler took parphenyladium, which is still the base for many permanent hair colors, and created the first commercial hair color. He called the new product Aureole, later changed to L'Oreal. By 1915, the definition of femininity started to change. And you can see in these pictures, the first picture, that lady, to the next picture, to the next one, how they really started fixing themselves and making themselves look more desirable. The very elegant dance in Irene Castle began, twirling on stage wearing a shingled bob. Hemlines were rising and sleeveless dresses exposed underarm hair, which was quickly followed by the first women's razor. In 1917, the first International Beauty Shop Owners Convention and exhibition was held at the Waldorf Astoria in New York City and attended by 15 exhibitors and 300 barbers. Innovations were introduced by companies such as Proline, which produced the first no-lie relaxer using potassium hydroxide. At the same time, Leo J. Wall created the first electromagnetic clipper, which featured an alternating current AC motor that was quieter and lighter than the direct current DC clippers used at the time. Soon after, he established the Wall clipper, which you have in your kits, which remains a salon industry favorite, and they stand behind their product also. Okay, here's another one I really want you to get into and read, and this is on page 12 in the Focus On. This is Sarah Breedlove, aka Madam C.J. Walker. If you will go on Netflix and find her life, her movie, Self Made, you will love it. I've watched it, and she goes from nothing to building an empire, and it was all because of her hair loss. So, if you get a chance, please watch these series on her, but please read the Focus On about her. Okay, in the 1920s, best known short haircut style for women in the 1920s was the bob. It particularly spoke to flappers who felt emboldened by wearing this short, sassy style. Bobs were cut with razors and often worn straight with bangs or styled with deep waves and spit curls. And you can see she has a little bit of a wave. It's still popular today. People wear it, and not only African Americans, Caucasian women, anyone who wants to look like this wears this style. Taylor Swift is one of them. She'll wear it. It may be not be slicked down like this, but she still does the finger waves. So what we knew from the 1920s as emboldened by wearing the short sassy style and styled with deep waves, we call them finger waves. In 1925 story, the Washington Post Economic Effects of Bobbing described how bob hair did wonders for the beauty industry in 1920, and there were 5,000 hairdressing shops in the United States by the end of 1924. There were 21,000 established shops. This era's men were also style conscious, typically appearing clean shaven and having traded their slick back hairstyle for a shorter haircut with a center part. The 1920s was an era of change for cosmetology. Unionizing the barber introduced new standards. In 1924, the Associated Master Barbers of America was organized. Name later changed to Associated Master Barbers and Beauticians of America. Okay, in the 30s, major women's hairstyle trends were all about the waves. Still, we got these waves, and these are what we call Hollywood waves now. Women wore loose to crisp waves and parts sweeping to the side or down the middle. At the beginning of the decade, short hair still reigned, but as the 1930s marched on, women started opting for shoulder length. Bangs also took the spotlight. Typical 1930s men cut was neat and clean around the ear, tapered down to nothing at the nape, and blended up to a longer top length with a side part. This was morphed into what we now call a fade. So there again, we took something, we did it again, and we changed the name. This look was typically paired with a pencil mustache inspired by celebrities such as Clark Gable and Errol Flynn. Chemists Ralph L. Evans and Everett G. McDonough pioneered a machine-free perm, machine-free, so they're not using that machine anymore, in 1932 and used heated generated by chemical reaction. Small flexible pads containing a chemical mixture were wound around hair strands. When the clamps were moistened with water, the released chemical heat created long-lasting curls. Charles Revson of Revlon fame marketed the original pigmented based nail polish. The first product was recognized as nail polish today. The milestone marked a dramatic shift in nail cosmetics as an array of nail lacquers were now available. Early actresses like Jean Harlow and Gloria Swanson glamorized this new nail fashion in the mid-30s by appearing in films wearing matching polish on their fingernails and toes. In 1932, Lawrence Gelb, a New York chemist, introduced the first permanent hair color product that penetrated the hair shaft rather than just coating it, and founded a company called Clairol. In 1935, Max Factor created pancake makeup to make movie actors' skin look natural on color film. A few years later, pancake makeup became available in the general public. In 1938, Arnold Willett invented the cold wave, the precursor to modern perm, which used no machines or heat to curl the hair. In the 1940s, soft waves, curls, and rolls defined the decade's look. Victory rolls were probably the most iconic women's hairstyle in the decade. Men's haircuts in the 1940s were influenced by the golden age of cinema, jazz, and World War II. The era's short crop military cuts, which were practical, neat, and easily maintained, paved the way for today's version of buzz cuts, flat tops, and crew cuts. The page boy and pixie haircuts were also popular, and they still are today. In 1941, scientists developed another method of permanent waving using wave-in lotion. It was also called a cold wave because no heat was used. Modern versions of cold wave usually refer to alkaline perms and are still used today. In 1941, pedicures and foot massages became salon services. Aerosol can was originally invented during World War II to spray troops with insect repellent to prevent malaria. A few years later, aerosol technology was used to introduce hairspray. In 1947, Maurice King invented Barbicide, a styling tool disinfectant, and we use that now, okay? From the 1950s to the 2000s, introduction of tube mascara, improved hair and nail products, and the bloom and then death of weekly salon appointments. In the 50s, redheads multiplied with the popularity of Rita Hayworth and Lucille Ball. Celebrities like James Dean, Little Richard, and Elvis influenced men's styles. In 1953, Marilyn Monroe starred in A Gentleman Preferred Blondes, which ignited a platinum blonde explosion that lasted well into the 1960s. In the 1960s, Fidel Sassoon turned the hairstyling world on its ear with revolutionary geometric cuts. Fidel Sassoon also created hair care products, and the shampoo and conditioner. The commercial always said, if you don't look good, we don't look good. That's the one thing that I remember from growing up and from Fidel Sassoon was his commercials on his product. He stood behind them. The hippie movement brought long, straight, center-parted hair and afros for women and men. If you look around, we have gone right back to the hippie movement. Um, African American women are letting their hair go natural again, using their beautiful curls instead of getting those harsh relaxers. Some still are. We, as Caucasian, we are letting our hair go straight instead of getting the perms. And most people are starting to part. Most girls are starting to part it in the middle again. The natural hair movement began to take shape and is still growing today. I can remember looking at my aunt's yearbook. She graduated in 1978, and I just always thought it was amusing. If you look at her yearbook and look at the way things are now, they are so similar. Even the guys would have the afros that were so big that whole hair did not fit in the little picture in the yearbook. In 1977, Farrah Fawcett's long layered look became iconic. Although the length has changed, long layers remain popular today. And if you don't know who Farrah Fawcett is, well, she's already passed now, but she was one of the first original Charlie's Angels. Major revolution in frosting and highlighting, French hairdressers introduced hair weaving using aluminum foil. And I'm sure you know at least one of these people, if not both. 1950s to 2000. In the 1980s, makeup went full circle from barely there to heavily made up cat eyes and heavy use on eyeshadows and blush. And the 80s also brought big tease bangs. I was there, lived it, loved it. The bi-level haircut, including the mullet and the Jerry curl. In the mid-80s, industry-specific software hit the salon industry, and hairdresser Farouk Shami invented Sunglitz, the world's first ammonia-free lightener. First North American Hairstyling Awards event was held in 1989. An event still continues to allow hairdressers to compete and showcase their talents. In the 90s, hair color became gentler, allowing more people to become blondes, brunettes, and redheads. The desire for smoother, richer styles, the trend towards the healthier hair, and improved styling products and tools all contributed to perm's decline in popularity. More natural looking volume replaced the teased look in the 1980s. And I'm going to tell you, when we teased those bangs and that hair in the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of hairspray was used. I think we're the reason that there's a hole in the ozone, okay? In 1994, the Rachel, the short layered cut created by stylist Chris McMillan for Jennifer Aniston's character Rachel Green on the TV show Friends, was born. And a little thing that I've learned from this, because I try to look into stuff, Rachel hated this haircut because it would not stay out of her face. She was constantly moving it and could not do nothing with it. By 1995, men reportedly spent $9.5 million on grooming. Don't know if y'all remember the President Bill Clinton. When I was in school, they reported that he made a stop on the Air Force One to New York and got a haircut, and the haircut cost him $600. So he was one of them ones that contributed to the $9.5 million on grooming. In 1998, Creative Nail Design introduced the first spa pedicure system. The 21st century. Styles are more diverse than ever before. Although they are still trends, they have grown to include a variety of lengths, colors, and textures so that all hair types can showcase their unique personalities and style. Through the early 2000s, the focus was on chunky highlights, choppy layers, full highlights, and natural textures. Advancement of hot tools allowed for blowouts that produce smooth, straight results for even the curliest hair. This gave clients versatility with natural textures and caused a sharp decrease in the use of chemical relaxers and traditional stove-heated Marcels. In 2002, David Beckham inspired men to explore a more body-conscious style, which increased grooming services ranging from manicures and waxing to facials, cuts, and hair color, foot care, manicure, and pedicures. In 2009, Maura Canali's success established a new beauty category. Treatment oils and numerous like-minded companies followed suit. In the mid to late 2000s, ombre color became the latest hair color art form. Many clients still wanted full highlights, but the trend shifted towards balayage, a freehand style of creating custom placed highlights and lowlights. Other trendy color techniques included color melting, baby lights, and shadow root. Some of the classic styles, such as the asymmetrical bob, pixie cuts, fades, and pompadours, were reinvented for a modern look, often including brighter colors outside the usual hair coloring spectrum, such as blues, greens, pastels, and unicorn-inspired looks. Beauty industry entered the specialization age. Cosmetologists can focus specifically on hair color, texture, or hair cutting. Nail technicians offer a full array of services and specialize in artificial nail enhancements, natural nail care, or even pedicures. Never been a time in history when we were more connected as cosmetologists. Internet and social media provide instant links to other professionals, video tutorials, and group pages where you can ask questions and share knowledge with others and tap into other resources to advance your career. Social media has become a rich source for new clients. We are truly living in the golden age of cosmetology. The career paths of cosmetology. Once you've completed your schooling and license, you can find numerous opportunities within the industry. You can be a specialist, choose to specialize in any service covered by your license, such as hair color, texturizing, or hair cutting. Salon trainer, manufacturers and salon chains hire experienced salon professionals as trainers to develop salon personnel. Manufacturer educator. Manufacturers hire educators to train stylists to understand and use the company's products. Artistic director establishes the standard for a salon or manufacturer image, inspires hairdressers, and creates trends. Sorry for an interruption. Um, you also can be an education director, the liaison between brand and hairdressers, setting the company's standards by creating education that drives sales. A cosmetology instructor. And I know a lot of you are probably like, I do not want to come back here when I graduate. I'm going to be in a salon, this and that and other. But um, the benefits when you're in a community college are great. No, we do not make as much money as you would in a salon, but if you have a passion for it, do it. Go back and be an instructor. Salon professionals who dedicates themselves to teaching new professionals, film, theatrical, or editorial stylists, working on a set for photo shoots or movie, TV shows. The days are usually fast-paced and long. They start in an industry but volunteering to assist. And one of my students in my very first class, once she graduated, she did go to California for a while and she worked with, I want to say she was a singer. And that was her dream. She wanted to go to Hollywood and work, but she did go to California and she worked with a singer for a few months, and then she went back home and she opened up her own salon, and she is doing very well from what I've been told. You can also be a salon manager. You must have an aptitude for math and accounting and be able to read documents such as profit and loss statements. Remember that. That's another thing that you will see again. I'm telling you, please get in these books and this book and read and know everything that's in this book. You should understand marketing, including advertising, public relations, promotions, and special events, and what makes these programs successful. Much of management involves the salon's business side. Titles and accompanying responsibilities vary widely from salon to salon. Supplementing your experience with formal business education is the best path to success. When determining which role is best for you, also consider the type of facility where you want to work. Many options are available. Specialty salons where you may just only do color. I know a lot of people, them perms stink. I'm never going to do a perm when I get out of here. Perms make a lot of money, and some of them are coming back. Full service salons where you're going to be doing everything. Mobile services where permitted. They're not permitted here in North Carolina. Day spas. All licensed cosmetology just have the opportunity to expand their careers. Keep developing your skills into specialties that you interest you, and you'll be soon building and enjoying an extremely creative and rewarding career. In-demand services and opportunities. According to a new study by the National Accrediting Commissions of Career Arts and Science, salons employed around 1,680,000 professionals, and 53% of salons had job openings. Nearly three-quarters of salon owners with positions to fill could not find qualified applicants, even though about 38% of jobs were for professionals with less than a year experience. And a lot of salons are going to want to hire new people coming right out of school because they can train you on how they do things. Okay, so don't think I'm just coming out of school, nobody's going to hire me. And please don't have the mindset, because I did when I come out of school, I was too good to work at Cost Cutters or Fantastic Sam's, or they had Raffles then. Um, I was going to go and work at J.C. Penney and Cary Town Center. I actually got the job there. Had my picture made to put up on the wall. All I saw were dollar signs and upscale salon. And the girl, the manager that was talking to me, she didn't talk to me. She talked down to me. And she told me, just because you're fresh out of cosmetology school, don't think you can keep asking us questions, because you need to know what you're doing. When you come out of cosmetology school, you know the basics, and you should work with somebody who's willing to help you um, figure out these little quirks that me, somebody who has been in the industry for a while, I know them now. And you will look at me, or may look at me like former students have, and said, wow, how can you find that? I thought I checked that haircut, but then you come and you can do this. It's little things that we've learned how to do from our coworkers, from watching things, but she pretty much told me they were not willing to help me out. Then she looked at me and said, oh, you're from Johnston County. We will make fun of you. And I thought, so I thought about it and thought about it. And I called her later and said, I'm going to be taking a job closer to home. Cost Cutters had wanted me. They went to school and asked who was getting ready to graduate. My instructors referred me to them and gave me great accreditation. And I told them no, I already had a job. And so I went back and I called him and I said, is the opportunity still there? I would love to try. I learned so many things from Cost Cutters. No, I didn't make the money that I would have at JCPenney's, but it gave me that extra learning ability I even taught them some stuff that, I had learned, and things that, like using the razor. I really loved using the razor where some people were scared of it. And so I taught them some stuff. But go somewhere where they're going to be willing to continue your education in hair, because once we stop learning, we stop growing. And if we are going to keep doing that same old hairstyle every time that client comes in, they're going to switch. So your license will unlock countless doors, but your dedication and passion that ultimately determine your success. And that means I've had some students who say, I'm not working on Friday nights and Saturdays. I'm not, I just want to work Monday through Thursday. Just realize, um, when are your clients going to be off? They're going to be off on the weekends. Okay. So as you can see, cosmetology has quite a long history. And as we have learned what beautician techniques and products have been developed in the past, we have built upon the concepts and turned them into modern creations. Having a career in cosmetology offers limitless opportunities and a wide range of career options from which to choose. From a stylist in a salon to styling actors and actresses for TV, movies, and even live theater. You can make a substantial living as a beauty professional if you're dependable, ambitious, and willing to work and hard and develop the technical skills. The personal characteristics necessary to achieve success. It is important to know where we started so that we have a good understanding of how we move forward within our profession. Your time in here in cosmetology school is the perfect opportunity to develop and practice the positive behaviors necessary to be successful out in the salon world. Be honest as you assess yourself and your current skill level, and be open to the feedback you'll receive from your instructors. Remember, this is a time for learning, and we very much want you to succeed. I never want anybody to walk out of here feeling like they did not learn anything. Now, I want you to go in your book, and you need to answer your check-in questions, and you will see them, and they're very easy to answer because the question is right up under what you have just read. So you have, let me check it, you have 21 check-in questions. You do not have to write the question, but you have to write the answer. Put them in the box below this link in Blackboard. Have a great afternoon.